Morning. Okay, when you were a parent or someone else who was giving shelter to a person who is pursuing SSI, and the plan is not giving it, it's loaning it to them. And if you have an agreement that, okay, I'm gonna loan you this shelter. The rent is $400. I know you don't have it right now, but I will loan it to you until such time as you get back on your feet, you prevail on a disability claim, or in any other way that you come into income or assets that can be used to pay back this loan. It's a month by month ongoing loan. And as long as that loan was established when you say it started, and you can verify that with documentation. Now, mind you, a lot of these arrangements are not done in writing. It's often family, close friends, family. So you might not have an actual lease that says the rent is $400 starting today and they both signed it 2 years ago. But if it is the case and it was a bona fide loan arrangement of that shelter, the value of that shelter during the ensuing months, you can provide documentation saying so. I would suggest you look into the phrase bona fide loan um, with under SSA.gov. They have a couple of forms where you can document what the arrangement was, that it was unconditional. It wasn't that they only had to pay you back if they win their SSI. It's an actual flat out loan. Um, and that's important because it has to be unconditional. It can't be where you say, well, only if you win your SSI do you ever have to pay me back. No, it's got to be where it was, no matter how you come into money. If you die still owing it, but you have an estate, you owe me this money. Um, Bona fide loan, unconditional. And you want to put the start dates, the amount, and there might not be an end date because you don't know when they're going to start getting their back benefits or their current benefits. Um, so that is how you can document and pursue. Number one, it'll help them prove that they were not being gifted shelter, so they should not have their back monthly benefits curtailed by a third. So let's say it's the 900 and something, curtailed by a third because shelter has been so kindly provided for free for somebody. No, in this case, if it's a loan and both the SSI individual and the home owner or the person in control of the home can document together and sign off on the fact that, yes, this was the arrangement way back when, it was a verbal arrangement, but this is what it was. Then it's a double whammy. It can be a double whammy good thing. A, you're proving that she wasn't being gifted her rent all that time, so that she's not going to get her SSI for back benefits curbed at only 2/3 instead of the full 3/3, 100% of the SSI amount due to a freebie of shelter, because she wasn't getting a freebie of shelter. It was being loaned to her. Okay. The other benefit, and by the way, that loaning would be stopping presumably when she starts getting her SSI benefits, and then she can cut you a check every month if you're still the landlord. That's totally fine. If the landlord happens to be the parent and happens to be a representative payee, RP for the beneficiary who is deemed by the SSA not to be able to perhaps reliably handle her funds and pay bills promptly and keep her own survival bills intact, and she has an RP. And if that also happens to be the parent who is renting out the room, there is no, like, so if the question arises, well, can I, as the RP, when the back benefits come in, pay myself back this loan that she has? Yes, you can. Um, there should be nothing wrong with that as long as you have documentation that there was in fact this loan. If it wasn't a loan, you can't fabricate it later. You have to be honest about it, whether it was or not. If that was the arrangement, and that is often the arrangement, so it's not terribly unusual. But sometimes it's not. Some people just gift it out. But if it was the arrangement, yes, you can have the proof that it was the arrangement. And then when she gets her back benefits, because you're going to be accounting well for all those monies, what's paid for her bills, what you're giving her as spending money, etc., you can use the back benefits and pay the debt back, and properly record it as such. If you cut the check for that notate on the check what it's for. Keep a copy of that documentation about the loan of the shelter. And again, that documentation might be that bona fide loan documentation that was created by you subsequent to when the loaning really started, because it was only verbal back then. Now you're putting it in writing and you're both signing and saying, yes, this was the arrangement. You can use that and fight to make sure that that person, A, gets their full SSI for all those back months, and B, it documents you as a representative payee to be able to get pay yourself, just like you would any other landlord if she had a different landlord, the back rent. Pay yourself the back rent. Just keep everything very well documented. You really need to keep a file, keep everything organized. It could be month by month, because you might have to, of course, have an annual accounting perhaps of where the monies went. And of course, you know that you can't be saving money. She can't be saving money if it's not all spent every month. There's a little bit she can save. If she's single, up to 2,000, married up to 3,000. That's assuming there's no other countable resources for that person. So a little bit of savings, but once that $900,000 SSI amount direct deposit pops into her account, you don't want her to be tipping over that 2,000. And anybody who watches much of me knows that I think it's ridiculous that the 2,000 amount is still the limit. It's been around for decades, despite the inflation we've had over the last decades. So that's a whole nother anomaly that makes no sense. If someone in 2005 needed to have a limit as high as $2,000 to be able to save, why has that not changed in 20 years? Hasn't the value of $2,000 massively changed? Anyway, whole nother event that you've probably seen elsewhere if you watch me much. But yeah, I think it's fabulous if someone's charging rent to a loved one for the room they have, so they're being accountable for their own shelter. And then they're going to be able to get the full amount of SSI so that they continue to pay their own way with the shelter. Okay. I hope that answers that question that kind viewer just gave, but it comes up in my cases, not that infrequently. When I first speak to someone who's not even in the arena yet of filing, and it's going to be something, we address this because they need to get their ducks in a row. And if they're going to be renting, they have to start, making a documentation now that it's renting. If it was a gift, but now it's going to change to a rent because now they realize the repercussions, so be it. That's fine. As long as when you do it, you do it. And it's legitimate and it's bona fide, and no harm, no foul there. So definitely take heed. I would do your due diligence, look up the bona fide loan arrangements, all under the SSA site. You can find that. There is documentation. I want to say it's like the 5062 or the 5063. Look up those documents. They might be an SSA dash 5062, 5063. I'm just taking that off the top of my head, but they will be helpful depending on what kind of loaning is going on. Okay. Loaning is a big deal. You want it to be recognized as a loan if it's a loan. All right. You could see some of the SSI videos we have on gifting to SSI beneficiaries and how to be careful with that, and all sorts of other things about the finances. All right. Talk to you later. Bye, guys.